Good morning, folks. This is Billy Trout with the Tennessee Department of Revenue's Taxpayer Services Division. And on behalf of Commissioner David Geragino and our staff in Taxpayer Services and the Department of Revenue, we'd like to welcome you to today's presentation on franchise and excise tax refunds for Schedule G. We have some new legislation, obviously, that's causing us to have a need for this special webinar today. And we thank all of you for joining us, and also want to thank all of my coworkers at the Department of Revenue for their efforts in putting this together very, very quickly. So with us today, we're going to have our Chief of Staff, Courtney Swim, who will be making a presentation a little later, as well as the director of our TR3 and 10-TAP division, Greer Allison. So we're glad to have everyone available for that. We have the not so famous, but maybe a little famous, Katie Julian, who's on our taxpayer education staff, who will be walking you through some of the things as well as we begin going. We do want to encourage interaction. We do want to say that due to the large number of people that are on the webinar today, we're not going to probably be able to address every question that you have. But as we go through this, through the information that we're going to present to you and the resources that we, resources that we have on our website, currently even, I think that there's plenty of information that's out there, and you'll be able to get the information that you need. And if you need further follow-up, we're going to show you how to get that as well. So with that, I will go ahead and turn this over to Miss Katie Julian. Katie?
Great. Thank you, Billy. Glad to have you all here with us. We have a huge group of people joining, a lot of panelists today that we're excited to have. And uh, really, let me first just say that when you're the taxing agency, it is always great to be able to give good news, right? It's not always the case, but I feel like recently we were just handing it out left and right between last year's Tennessee Works Tax Act and now this. Who doesn't love a refund, right? So we're going to dive into this here. Today, we're going to be discussing brand new legislation that has passed that repeals the real and tangible personal property base or property measure from the Tennessee franchise tax. The legislation also authorizes refunds, yay, to be paid under certain conditions to requesting taxpayers who paid Tennessee's franchise tax on that property measure. We'll be diving into details about the new law with Courtney Swim. We'll have a live demonstration showing you how to amend that Schedule G and how to request a refund, step by step on that with Greer Allison. We're going to be sharing some resources with you, and we'll answer your questions that you put into the chat throughout this presentation. Those questions are going to be going directly to the panel. We'll be addressing as many of those as we can, sticking to just questions about this Schedule G refund process. I'm guessing, like Billy said, we're not going to be able to get to all the questions due to the very large number of attendees today, but we'll be sharing with you, excuse me, how to get in touch with us regarding any questions that we don't get to. For any new businesses that are with us here today, new taxpayers, or any others joining us here that may not be aware, just to give you, excuse me, a little basics on franchise tax. F&E tax combines the franchise tax and the excise tax. It's a tax that's imposed on the privilege of doing business in Tennessee. And just FYI, this is entirely different from the business tax. A lot of times new businesses get confused and think that's one and the same one and the same thing. There's a franchise excise tax and a business tax, two separate things. So um, entities that are subject to franchise tax include C Corps, subchapter S Corps, LLCs, professional LLCs, registered limited liability partnerships, limited partnerships, some others. I want to make it clear here too, sole proprietorships and general partnerships are not subject to F&E tax. So if you're a sole proprietorship and you're on here, you're welcome to stay and listen and learn a little bit, but this is not going to apply to you if you are a sole prop. There are some other exceptions. You can read about that more in some of the resources that we're going to be sharing with you a little bit later. But just again, some more basics on franchise and excise. Excise tax is based on your net earnings or income for the year. This law is not going to affect the excise portion of F&E, just the franchise portion. So prior to this law, the franchise tax was imposed on the greater of a taxpayer's either a portion net worth or value of real and tangible property owned or rented in Tennessee, which is reported on Schedule G. That's the part that is affected here. So now with that, I'm going to be handing things over to the Department of Revenue's Chief of Staff, Courtney Swim, to go over all those details for you. Let me just pass the baton over to you, Courtney. There we go. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie, and thanks everybody for joining us this morning. We know this is a topic of great interest for a number of you, so thanks for taking some time to join us. I'm going to give a little bit of an overview of the new law itself, and then we'll pivot to Greer to actually show you how to apply for these refunds. So as Katie mentioned, on April 25th, the Tennessee General Assembly passed Senate Bill 2103, House Bill 1893, and this law does two things. First, it eliminates the property measure from the franchise tax calculation for tax years ending on or after January 1st, 2024. Second, it authorizes the Department of Revenue to issue franchise tax refunds to eligible taxpayers for a specific period of time. For those of you that have not yet filed your franchise tax return for tax year 2023, please note that you should file that 2023 return based on the law that was in effect during that tax year. So that means for it ending on or before December 31st of 2023, taxpayers must complete both Schedule F for net worth and Schedule G for property for their franchise tax return, and then calculate the franchise tax due based on the greater of those two alternative tax bases. As I mentioned, this new law authorizes the department to issue franchise tax refunds to eligible taxpayers. So who is eligible? Any taxpayer that has paid the franchise tax on the property measure, which is Schedule G of the return, for a return that was filed on or after January 1st of 2021, covering a tax period that ended on or after March 31st of 2020. This generally means that if you paid the franchise tax based on the property measure during tax years 2020, 2021, 2022, or 2023, you are eligible for a refund. The department is sending letters to taxpayers we have identified as potentially being eligible, and these letters should be going out over the next couple weeks, so please keep an eye out in the mail. However, we still encourage you to review your records and potentially consult with a tax professional to determine if you qualify. Do want to note that if you pay the $100 minimum franchise tax, you are not eligible for these refunds. Again, these refunds are specifically limited to taxpayers that paid the franchise tax based on the property measure for the years identified. As far as the amount of the refunds, the refund for a given tax year will equal the amount of franchise tax paid based on the property measure minus the amount of franchise tax that would have been paid based on the net worth measure for that year. Turning to the procedure to obtain a refund, taxpayers must apply for these refunds. The department will not issue any refunds automatically. Refund claims must be submitted between May 15th and November 30th of this year. Filing a claim is a two-step process. First, taxpayers need to amend the returns for the tax periods to be included in their refund claim. When amending, you will need to report franchise tax using Schedule F net worth. After those amended returns have processed, taxpayers must submit a new special refund claim form that we have created specifically for this type of refund. The department will not accept the standard refund claim form for this purpose. The department strongly encourages taxpayers to both amend their returns and file this special claim form electronically in TNTAP. However, if you're unable to file electronically, you may submit paper amended returns as well as a paper refund claim form. And the refund claim form will be released sometime next week. So be looking out for that, but we do not have that available for you today. The new law also requires that a taxpayer agree to a couple things before accepting one of these refunds. First, taxpayers must acknowledge that their name and the applicable range corresponding to the amount of their refund will be published on the department's website. There are 3 categories of ranges: $750 or less, more than $750 but less than $10,000, or more than $10,000. In addition, the name of any taxpayer that has a refund that is still pending with the department as of May 31st of 2025 will also be published on the website. But these taxpayers will be designated as pending without noting a range for the value of that refund. All of these names will be published on the department's website from May 31st of 2025 through June 30th of 2025. So those names will just be published for a 1-month period. Second, the new law requires that taxpayers accepting a refund must waive all claims and rights of action in any court against the Tennessee Department of Revenue, the commissioner, the state, and its employees based on any theory that the franchise tax, as it existed before the enactment of this new law, is unconstitutional by failing the internal consistency test. Now, the special refund claim form we are creating will include both of these conditions, and taxpayers must sign and acknowledge both before submitting their claim form. Many of you submitted questions prior to this webinar asking how this new law impacts your franchise tax return for tax year 2023. So many of you may not have filed yet if you are filing on an extension. So I want to reiterate what I said at the outset about how to file for 2023. For returns filed for tax years ending on or before December 31st of 2023, taxpayers must complete both Schedule F and Schedule G and calculate the franchise tax based on the greater of Schedule F net worth or Schedule G property. Taxpayers who pay the franchise tax based on Schedule G property for 2023 will then have to request a refund using that special claim form I just talked about. It's critical that tax year 2023 refund claims include this special claim form to ensure that taxpayers are complying with the new law's requirements related to the disclosure of taxpayer names and the waiver of those legal rights we just discussed. The new law eliminates the property measure going forward. So for tax years ending on or after January 1 of 2024, taxpayers will no longer have to file Schedule G, but will instead calculate the franchise tax using Schedule F net worth. And with that, I will turn it back over so we can move on to the live demo of the refund application process.
Great, thank you, Courtney. And now we are going to hand things over to Greer Allison to walk us through this live demo. Excited to see this. Hey, Greer. Oops, I got you on, you're on mute still. Let's see. There we go.
Better?
Yes, I hear you now. We're good.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, and thank you, Courtney, for that informative presentation. In this demonstration, and it is live, we're going to go over the franchise tax property measure Schedule G repeal refund. As Courtney said, I'm going to reiterate, this is a 2-step process. It requires amending your returns, and then once they are processed, submitting a claim for refund. I'm going to go through both here. I have with me driving this demo, lovely developer, Nathan Hamilton. Just wanted to introduce him and let you know that's what's going on. We have set up some test data. You can see we're in our test environment, just so you know, all data within this is fictitious. Let's go ahead and log in, Nathan. We're going to log in as if we are a third party. For those of you who are not a third party, the screens look very similar, other than this first one where a third party has multiple clients on their first screen. First thing we're going to do is select the customer that we want to access. Navigate to the franchise and excise account and select the View File Returns link. Any return for which you claim the franchise tax, property measure, Schedule G repeal refund needs to be amended. We highly recommend or strongly recommend that you start with the oldest period first. As you can see here, we have 4 tax periods, one of which, our 2023, has not been filed yet. We're going to start by amending the 2020 filing period. Click Amend. And your first step is to select the reason. Select Other. And then you enter franchise tax property measure, Schedule G repeal refund, and click Next. You can also shorten that to Schedule G repeal refund if you like. The return will pre-populate based on what was filed on your original return. Something to remember, it's in red at the top here. Changing the answers to these questions will change what schedules appear on your return, regardless of how you originally filed. So that means you might have to re-enter numbers. Let's keep moving. As you can see, Schedule N is pre-populated. And we're going to move forward. Thank you, Nathan. Here's Schedule F. This Schedule F does not have anything populated, so you'll need to fill out those numbers. And let's move on to Schedule G. On Schedule G, you zero out all the numbers. Thank you, Nathan. And then while he's doing that, we're going to keep moving forward through the schedules. They're all pre-populated. Let me just mention here, this amendment is specific to the Schedule G repeal refund. I do not recommend amending for any other reason. If you choose to do so, it will increase the time to process the refund. Keep moving. Thank you. This is our summary page. As you can see here, line 1 for Schedule F has an amount in the field, and line 2 should equal 0. Let's keep moving, Nathan. Thank you. If you have supporting documentation, you may add it here, but it is not required. Something else that's important, on your payment page, it does show an amount due. Select No and click Submit. And here you have your confirmation page, which you can print if you like, but you do not have to. You can see the banner at the top says that you must claim this on a special claim, the refund on a special claim for refund form, and it'll be found under additional actions. We will show you that step as well. But let's go forward. Right now, this return has not been processed. You can see that in your 10 tab returns, on your returns tab in 10 tab, see where it says submitted. Once it's processed, it will say processed. You will also receive some type of notice, either an email or a web notice in your 10 tab account. It is important that the return be processed before you file the claim for refund. Let's go ahead and file for 2021. I want to show you what it will look like on the claim for refund. Thank you, Nathan. Returns typically process within 1 to 2 business days. Thank you, Nathan. And again, changing the answers to this will change what schedules appear. Doing the amendments all at once or with it before you file your claim for refund will help you when you do file it, because they'll all pre-populate on one claim for refund form. You don't have to do that, but we try to make it easier for you when you file your claim. As you can see here, Schedule F is already populated. Let's go ahead and move forward and zero out Schedule G. Thanks, Nathan. And we're going to move through the rest of the schedules. without changing anything. Here we are in the summary. You can see line 1 has numbers within it and line 2 is at 0. Let's go ahead and click next. Attach supporting documentation for this filing period if you have any, but it is not required. And then select no for the payment option and hit submit. Here's your confirmation that you can choose to print or not. Now I want to show you in the background, in our testing area, we're processing these returns right now, but I want to show you what it will look like on TINTAP for you. Thanks, Dave. What are you going to show on the process? Thank you. Thank you. So now everything is processed, so we are ready to file our claim for refund. Just as a reminder, we have a banner at the top in case you forget where you need to go to additional actions, and then you'll see the claim for refund link there. But let's move forward and show them that, shall we? So let's go to additional actions and the additional actions tab. Thank you. Under forms, you see F&E Schedule G repeal refund. And here we are. You have until November 30th to file this. Let's go ahead and click next. Something very important. When you see this here, you'll need to choose the address. The address that you choose is where the refund will be mailed. In addition, that address that you choose will populate the legal names that are attached to the address. That's where the check will be made out. So very important, just make sure that you choose the name in which you want the check made. Go ahead and click next. Again, you can attach supporting documentation. For example, if you have a balance sheet, a pro forma, etc., you can attach it here. You do not have to, it is not required. However, if you do, and your amended return requires additional review, that supporting information may decrease the time required to process the claim. Go ahead and click next. Thank you. As you can see, we have pre-populated the amounts that you're claiming for this special refund. These are not editable fields. They come from the amended returns that you filed. If you had chosen to go ahead and amend 2022, that would also populate here, provided the return had processed. Go ahead and click next. This is your report of debts that you need to answer the questions and then certify. And this is what Courtney referred to earlier. Here in TINTAP, you're going to do the similar thing that you would on the paper form. Read this, you are required to check yes, and then put in your initials. And click submit. Your password does act as your signature, and here's your confirmation. Once this has been processed, you will receive a letter stating such. The refund check is sent separately, made out to the person whose name you chose earlier in that claim, and sent to the address that you chose earlier in the claim for refund process. Usually it takes 7 to 10 business days after you receive your notice saying that you were approved. And that is all we have for today on our demo. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll turn it back to you, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you, Greer. Very helpful. I think it's a clean process. If you get confused about this a little bit later, again, we are going to be posting this video, a video of this webinar on our website in the webinar video library. If you ever need to go back and just watch that again, it'll be posted maybe later today, but definitely by tomorrow. We have to wait for the video of the recording to process, but very helpful there. Thank you. Let's see here. Make myself the presenter again. Okay. So I wanted to share with you now, if you have looked in the chat there, maybe one of the other panelists can add it in there again, a hyperlink. There's a link to a PDF of the slides here. Of course, there's going to be a video of this webinar, and then there's a PDF of all these slides. You can't click on these hyperlinks directly from the webinar here that you're in, but if you follow the link over to the PDF that is in the chat, you'll be able to click on these hyperlinks here. The first one is, the first resource hyperlink we're going to share with you here is a Schedule G tax refund web page. This is a special web page that we have created just for this occasion. There's a link to that there. You can also link directly to it from our website, tn.gov/revenue. So if you need help with this amending process, as always, we have a franchise and excise tax practitioner support helpline. That's 615-253-0700. That is not our regular. If you're calling about business tax, sales tax, we have another line for that, and I'll share that a little bit later. But this is just for these franchise and excise questions, the 253-0700. Also, you can send us a message to revenue.support@tn.gov. For questions specifically about the status of your refund, of course, refunds, there's really no way to tell you right now exactly how long a refund is going to take. Right now, as soon as this starts on May 15th, we might get a bazillion refund requests. It might take a little bit longer. That might level out. When it gets a little bit closer to that deadline of November 30th, it might get a little crazier. But if at any point, I would recommend giving a little bit of time, a couple weeks or so, before you reach out. But if you're wanting to reach out on the status of a refund, here is an email address that you can reach out to: fae.audithelp@tn.gov. We also have a link here to our franchise and excise tax manual. Our tax manuals, if you're not aware of them yet, they're all fantastic for all of our different tax types. We have manuals for industry specific guidance as well, but this franchise excise tax manual is updated with information about this Schedule G refund process. And the elimination of Schedule G moving forward. We also just have a general franchise and excise tax webpage. There's a link to that. We do now have a important notice that has been posted to our website. That's important notice 2405, that is specifically about the franchise tax property measure repeal. So with that, I believe we have been gathering lots of questions throughout this presentation so far. Dan Vinson, my assistant director, has been kind of corralling some of those, and Stacy Gibson and Susan Amon from our audit division are going to be with us to help answer some of those questions. So Dan, what are you seeing in the chat here that we can
Oh,
start
we have
addressing?
so many questions, and we probably need to just go ahead and preface this with, we're not going to be able to answer all these questions, but there are some familiar themes in the questions. And one is, if we have a dissolved entity, will that dissolved entity still be eligible for a refund? I'd like to answer that.
Dan, this is Stacy. I think I'll take that one to try to give you all some guidance. We cannot answer a question regarding every company situation, whether your termination is pending or is recent, but we can tell you that you should be able to submit a claim within 10-TEP in our system. We will take a look at it. Just please keep in mind that checks can only be issued in the name of the company.
When will the new refund claim form be available online? Is it May 15th? Because there's other dates floating out there. Will the ability to attach items such as balance sheets to the tax return be available? So if anybody needs to attach any items, will that be made available to them?
Dan, actually, you do have a ability to actually attach items. The claim form will be available and that you can begin filing the amended returns and the claim form in 10-TAP May 15th. Instructions are already available with information about what that will look like on our website. but you can, it's optional, but we encourage you, if it's available, to file a schedule of assets and liabilities or a balance sheet and attach that either to the amended return in TINTAP or to the claim form itself.
Another question that we've gotten several times, must you file refund requests all at the same time, or can you break them up?
You can also break those up. We encourage you to file them in chronological order. But if you would like to go ahead and file the earlier years now and file one claim form for those, you may do that and follow up then later with 2023, or file them all together. You can file separate claim for refund forms by year, or you can put all of the amended years on the same claim for refund form. It's just critical to keep that November 30 deadline in mind and make sure that you do the two-step process of amending the returns and getting that claim for refund special form filed.
I had an observation I wanted to throw out here just for a general comment. And thanks to everybody for all your great questions. I think they're fantastic. There's questions in here that are just fantastic and address everything we need to know. But the one thing that I noticed in Greer's presentation in making these claims for refunds is how precise it needs to be, how many different steps there are. So I would encourage everyone that makes a claim for a refund to carefully go through each page, make sure that you're clicking on and putting in the information that is out there, maybe refer back to the written materials that we're providing today and also the recording. Things like addresses and names on refund checks are super duper important. Getting them reissued is oftentimes very tedious. Okay. So make sure that you get this stuff right up front, if you would, please. Particularly noting the area of the screen where the amending of the return creates a possibility, or at least a supposition of a payment that might need to be made. Clearly, a payment does not have to be made. You're getting a refund, right? So clicking that no box, which is something that Greer demonstrated a couple of different times on there, is very important. Please do not make an additional payment. Obviously, this is not the purpose behind this whole program. So that's just what I wanted to point out, and just some general comments there. So thanks for letting me do that.
Another question that's come up a lot, as a third party filing for their clients, do they, the third party, do they need a statement signed from their clients on the waiver? So is the preparer allowed to sign the refund request? Greer, are you still there? Can you answer that question?
I am here, Dan. I wasn't sure if that question was directed at me or not.
I'm so sorry. I should have used your name.
No, that's okay. So if you're logged in as a third party, that means you gained access and your taxpayer agreed to that. As to initialing the form, that would be Courtney, our chief of staff, would need to sign off on that. But if you're logged in as a third party, which means that you're logged in as your firm, not as your taxpayer, then you would be, you should have the appropriate permission to be filing and handling things on behalf of your client. Courtney, I don't know what initials you would like there. I would assume you'd want the third party's initials, but I defer to you.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just stated there, Greer.
Greer, since you're on, can amended returns be electronically filed through software providers that we would ordinarily use to file the returns, or can returns only be amended through TINTAP?
If your software provider has it set up to where you can amend returns through their software, then yes, absolutely, we will accept those from your software provider.
And one additional note on that, we have been informed that for tax year 2020, that MEF filing is no longer available. So there are some challenges with amending the tax year 2020 return via MEF. However, we have discussed the issue with the IRS and have developed a solution and passed that solution on to your software vendors. So our hope is that those vendors implement that solution, which would allow you to amend tax year 2020 through their software. However, if they don't implement that, you will be directed to amend via 10-tap or on paper.
Thanks, Courtney. Yes, any MEF return that the IRS currently accepts, if your software has that set up, that would be year filing period 2021 and 2022. You can also amend through MEF.
Panelists, are there any other questions that you're seeing that need to be answered? Oh, here's a good one. Will the Department of Revenue be paying interest?
Yes, interest will begin to accrue on these refund claims if the claim is not paid within 90 days of the department receiving your claim form and all the information necessary, proof to indicate that a refund is due. Do want to also note that the interest rate is a little bit different than the rate that applies to other refunds. The new law provides that the interest rate is the federal rate for large corporate overpayments, which is about 5.5%.
Very good. Okay, just to confirm, we need to file the 2023 return as you would file it normally, correct? And then you would amend the 2023 return for the refund amount.
Yes, that is exactly correct. File 2023 just as you have in prior years, using both Schedule F and Schedule G, and then come back and submit that refund claim form for tax year 23.
Got an interesting question come up here that someone mentioned too. So, you know, sometimes they have to amend returns for obviously other reasons as well. So when that intermingles with the Schedule G process, what goes first? What does the cart come before the horse, or the horse come before the cart? Can someone explain how they'd like that to go?
So this, due to the shortened process, I'll just take that. I highly recommend that you file the Schedule G claim for refund form. You will not be able to file any other refunds on that claim form. This is a special claim form developed just for the Schedule G repeal refunds.
So Greer, with that being said, possibly there would need to be another reason to amend a return later once the Schedule G situation sort of resolved itself. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir, I would. Thanks.
Okay,
Billy.
thanks. Thank you.
Another question we've gotten a few times, what if you satisfied your original liability using credits? Will the refund be in cash, or would you regain those credits?
So this, I think that's directed at me. Like I said, the system will take those credits and put them back in place. You'll get the cash after the credits have been replaced.
Hey, Katie, can you do us a favor and walk us to the information page for Schedule G refunds?
Sure.
And also to the place where we have the information for the webinar
Yes.
and where the video will show up.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll take you over. I'll show you a few places over here. We're on tn.gov/revenue, which is our homepage. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Let's see here. Hopefully you can see that okay. The new website, there's a link to it in the PDF of this presentation, but also from our homepage, you can see a few different places. It'll be in the slider, but taking you over to it. Oops, that's the Facebook page. Wrong place. Let's see if it's in the slider yet. Yes.
It's there. There it is,
There we
Katie.
go. Okay. So that's tn.gov/revenue/2024 franchise tax.html is the page. As you can see here, and we'll be adding probably, to be honest with you, I would assume that after this webinar and seeing all the questions that come through, y'all, we have worked really fast to put all this together. The bill just passed a couple, gosh, it's not even been 2 weeks. So I would really think that we're going to be updating this with more questions, more issues as they come about. 'Cause y'all have had some great questions just in this presentation alone. So you'll see here there's a link to the important notice, and then lots of FAQs here. Most of these we have gone through in this presentation, but some we have not. I would highly recommend that you just kind of study this and go through. We got lots of questions here. So check that out and check back on that page regularly as we will be updating it. Taking you back to the top here, tn.gov/revenue, where you can view a recording of this webinar later. Hopefully later today, but definitely by tomorrow. You'll click on Taxpayer Education and Outreach, and then tax webinars. This is where you would have gone to register for this webinar. So this is also where you can right now and today click on the class materials. This is the PDF. And if you scroll to the bottom here, this is our webinar video library. This is where you'll be able to find this recording later on. We have, gosh, up to 57 now, soon to be 58 here in just a little while. You can type in just the word schedule here into the search bar, and that'll bring it up. You can click on the actual video by clicking one of these links over here, and the PDF will be the presentation guide over here on the left. So that's how you find that. Billy, what else did you want me to show them? That was
We wanted to see listen, this is the web page here too. So we've showed us where the Schedule G information is, and then also where the regular webinar information is. And that's what we were talking about right there too. So I think we've got a few other comments from Courtney, who would like to clarify an issue here real quick. Let's go ahead and turn that over to Courtney right now.
Yeah, thanks, Billy. I'm just seeing a lot of questions come through about the application period and the due date specifically. So I just want to reinforce the window to file both the amended return and the refund claim form runs from May 15th to November 30th. The due date truly is November 30th. Yes, that does fall on a Saturday, and anything that comes in on that day will be processed in our system on that following Monday, December 2nd, but the true due date is Saturday, November 30th. So please make sure you have submitted your amended returns and that special refund claim form by November 30th.
Seems like a very basic question, but I've noticed it a few times. If the taxpayer filed their returns without using Schedule G, what procedure should the taxpayer follow to get a refund? There is no Schedule G ever filed. Will there be any refunds available? Assuming the answer is no.
The answer is no. The answer is no, Dan.
The official 100% answer.
Yes.
No way, no how.
Yes.
Okay, so no Schedule G, no refund.
If you're
And
a
can
minimum
this-
filer, Dan, or it may be worth clarifying, if you're a minimum filer or you've only filed on Schedule F, this will not apply to you.
Can the refund claim be submitted by paper? I think I know the answer to that. Is that the answer?
The answer is yes. We don't recommend it.
We don't recommend it. So I'm wrong. So it is available on paper, but is not recommended. That would extend the time for the refund.
Speaking for everyone, that meaning tax preparers, taxpayers, tax people like us, paper is not great. Electronics is great. And if you can make electronics work for you, we heartily recommend it. It speeds things up tremendously. Greer mentioned too, the opportunity for you to attach balance sheets and other documentation to the electronic files as well. That's very helpful to refund auditors. I know Susan is on this call with us here today from our audit division too, and she would probably say that that would be a good thing. The more information you send, the better. But of course, it's not required. You know, it's just a matter of putting all the information in. And just one other advertisement, real quick. Whenever you are submitting information to the department, please make sure that you're very, very careful about including all the information that's required, be it an application form, any type of registration that you might be required to do, or in this case, a refund claim. So we do want you to successfully get your information in so that we can very quickly process it and get your money to you in the right hands here too. So I'll go ahead and turn that back over to others for some other questions. Do we
While we're
have other
waiting,
questions?
while we're
Kate,
waiting on
Stacy,
some, okay,
go ahead.
good. I was going to show them where the manual was, but if we've got another question, that's good.
You're muted, Stacy.
I almost made it through without that. Sorry, everyone. I was going to tell Dan and Katie that I did notice a couple of questions about what if you need to make a correction on Schedule F. You had filed on Schedule G, but you need to make a correction on Schedule F. Actually, we want you to do that. In filing the return, you have the opportunity to actually zero out G. We want you to look at Schedule F and ensure that is correct. We just are asking you not to include any other issues other than those changes. So hope that helps.
There's still some confusion about who needs to initial or sign the waiver. Third parties will be able to submit that on behalf of their clients. Greer, is that correct?
I want to make an important clarification point there. If you have a log on to TINTAP and your log on is as a third party, which means you have access to your clients, that means that you've gone through all the security processes to be able to file and amend returns on behalf of your client. If you are perhaps signed in as your client, I'll defer that to Courtney.
The law really requires that the individual taxpayer is agreeing to these conditions. So the individual taxpayer needs to be aware that their information, their name is going to be disclosed and that they're waiving this right to file suit. So in a perfect world, the taxpayer would be the one signing to acknowledge that they individually agree to these things. However, in this situation, we do know that there are tax preparers that complete these forms and returns on behalf of their client. So yes, as Greer said, the third party should be logged in as such and can agree to those things on behalf of the client, yes. We would recommend that the preparers not be logged in as the client when completing these forms, but rather are logged in as the third party, which is a specific type of TINTAP login. And that confirms that that third party has the appropriate levels of access and authorization that Greer just mentioned.
I do have one fairly important question. Just slid by me. Here I found it. Okay, this is about LLCs that have been dissolved. Do we need to reestablish the LLC to get the refund if the LLC has been dissolved? They note that that's expensive. And will we have to reopen checking accounts in the LLC's name? Or can the check be made out to the owner or the manager's name? How are dissolved LLCs being handled?
Dan, I think that's consistent with the question about generally closed or terminated companies earlier. You can actually submit a claim, but you need to understand that the check will be issued in the name of the company. So keep that general guidance in mind.
We have dozens and dozens of questions.
Dan, I think we are going to go ahead and we're getting kind of towards the end of the hour, start wrapping things up a little bit. Lots of questions we are going to take back and take under consideration. And I would again recommend that you check back to that Schedule G refund webpage often. We're going to be updating that with lots of questions and answers. Again, this is all very new to everyone. So just to recap some stuff that we talked about today and best practices, before May 15th, do not amend. Actually, you wouldn't even be able to if you tried. The system won't let you. Do not amend your franchise and excise tax returns or submit a refund claim on this issue. On May 15th, it will be available until May 30th. Again, this is a two-step process. You will amend the return starting with in chronological order, starting with the oldest return available to amend, and then let that process and then submit the claim for refund. We are recommending that this is done on TINTAP. It's just a much easier process. Am I saying the wrong thing? Let's see. November 30th, May 15th through November 30th. It is much easier if you do it on TINTAP. There is a paper process, but takes more time, a little clunkier. Recommended to do this electronically for sure. When amending franchise tax returns for this purpose, only amend to zero out the Schedule G. Don't make other changes unless it's to that Schedule F net worth changes that need to be added there. For the quickest processing times, amend the returns and file the claim form on TINTAP. I just mentioned that. Again, if you are a minimum filer, a $100 minimum franchise tax filer, this is not going to apply to you because you didn't fill out a Schedule G. Even if you're not a minimum filer, if you didn't fill out a Schedule G, this does not apply to you. It's only for Schedule G. Another important thing to remember, let's see, I'm just being told you can amend returns. Let's see. Okay, well, we'll go back to that. Remembering when you get to the end of the process when you're amending, a screen is going to come up that says, would you like to pay now? Greer went over this. If you need to rewind back or go back and watch that, a screen comes up that says, would you like to pay now? Remember to click no there. That's just walking you through the normal screen. You want to click no and then submit. We're anticipating some people might get confused about that, but that's just really important. Let's see, does anyone have anything else? Anyone on the panel have anything else to add to this before we wrap things up for now? I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next screen while we're waiting for anybody else to show up with
Hey,
some other
Katie.
questions or concerns. Yes, Billy.
So, late breaking information here. Folks can amend their returns now, but they
Okay,
cannot submit their claim for refund until May 15th. Okay.
got it.
So, according to and if I'm saying this wrong, anyone else on this, let me know. But that's what I'm picking up in our little chat that we're doing with our presenters here. If you're confused by all that, maybe it's best just to wait till May 15th.
Right.
And you can kind of dot I's and cross T's all at the same time. So just an idea, but that's, if I'm saying that wrong, let me know, but I think that's what we're saying. Thank you.
Yes, Greer, Courtney, are we straight on that now? Just making sure we're giving out the right info here. It's kind of
That's correct.
confusing.
You can amend the returns now. You just
Okay.
can't file a claim for refund until May 15th.
Got it. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, so here you see in front of you various ways to follow us, contact us. We recommend any or all of these ways: Facebook, X. You can sign up for email updates. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, obviously our website. You can send us a question if we didn't get around to your question, or you want to wait and see if we update that page with questions later. You can always email us at revenue.support@tn.gov. Our general call center, 615-253-0600, and our special F&E tax practitioner line, 615-253-0700. We will have support staff available to assist you Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Central Time. Sometimes a little bit extended there, a little earlier, because we've got staff members on Eastern Time as well. There's a link there too. You can see to all of the Department of Revenue contact numbers. We have some upcoming events to tell you about. We've got a webinar later on this month on Tennessee sales tax basics. And next month, we've got our webinar is on tax issues for automobile dealers. We have a brand new tax manual specifically for automobile dealers as well. So that's exciting. Our new business workshop coming up on July 10th, I'm sorry. You can register for both the webinars and the new business workshop by going to our webpage, tn.gov/revenue, clicking on taxpayer education and outreach, and then either tax webinars or new business workshops. We are so glad that you joined us here today. Again, we're excited that this is even happening. We know that people are going to have lots of questions. It's still brand new. Hopefully, you'll get the answers that you need between our updated website. We'll see you soon. If you do need CPE credit for this webinar, when you leave the webinar, you'll have the opportunity to fill out a quick survey. Make sure you answer yes there if you need CPE credit. Panel, do we have anything else to add before we say goodbye for now?
Just real quick, Katie, super quick. Go back a slide or two to the information about how to get in touch with us. There we go.
Okay.
Note the bottom right, the franchise and excise tax practitioner hotline. That is your best telephone number. Okay. The best email address is to the left. Okay. Understanding fully that our staff doesn't know a ton more than what we've discussed today. Okay. Reason for that is because of the timing, and we'll continue to feed our staff as much information as we can. Feel free to reach out if you'd like. If you give us a few more days to kind of gather a few more things and kind of maybe index some of this information that you have given us today into some of the things that are on our website, that might be a little more helpful. But anyway, I just wanted you to know what the right phone number and the right email address was. Okay.
Right. Yes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Billy. Thanks to our panel, to Courtney, Greer, Stacy, Susan, our director, Elena's on here. Dan, thanks for corralling all these questions. We will see you later on this month for our Sales Tax Basics webinar, and hope you have a great rest of your day.